Let's do our next Python program. Write a program to calculate the compound interest given the principal amount, rate of interest, time period, and the frequency of compounding. Frequency of compounding basically means whether the interest is calculated every month, every 3 months, every 4 months, every 6 months, or every year. So let's do that. So let's define a calculation of the amount that has to be paid at the end of the period, right? uh, we can do that and subtract it from the principal to get the compound interest, or we can directly calculate the interest and add it to the principal to get the amount. So let's say calculate amount, and we are going to do it in two different ways. One is using the formula itself, the other is by using the simple interest formula. So let's say rate is given as 5 or 10% basis. So what we'll do is first we will convert it into decimals. So rate is equal to rate by 100. Now from where did this rate come? That has to be passed as a parameter to this function. So principal, rate of interest, time period, and the frequency of compound. Okay. Now the next step is to set the net amount to the principal amount, because we begin with this principal. Okay. And our interval is going to be 1, the first interval. Now what will be, how many times are we going to calculate this net amount, calculate the interest and add it to the net amount? That depends on the period. Let's say 3 years. Frequency, let's say quarterly, which means 3 times 4, so 12 times. Or if the period is 3 years and the frequency is once per year, then 3 times 1, 3 times. Okay. So which means we have to set up a loop. So while interval is less than or equal to the period times frequency, what do we do now? We calculate the interest. So interest is equal to the net amount. Remember, that is in the beginning it will be the principal itself times the rate of interest. Now the rate of interest will be given on an annualized basis, per year basis. So for the first interval, we will divide it by the frequency, and then we will add this interest to the net amount plus equal to what? Interest. Okay. And then we have to increase the value of the interval by 1 to figure out the next interest for the next period, next interval. So interval plus equal to 1, and finally we return the net amount. So this is our first method of calculating the net amount payable, from which we can calculate the interest. Now let's define the second method. Now this is where we accept the same set of parameters, but now we are going to use the formula for the compound interest. But first we will convert this rate of interest into decimals. Okay. Now net amount is equal to what? Principal PLE. No, it has to be PAL. PLE, from where did it come? This times within brackets 1 plus rate of interest divided by frequency to the power of. So double multiplication sign is for the power. Frequency times period, and we return this net amount. Okay, we have to put one more line here. And now we define the main function. So again, we have to accept these values from the user. So P is equal to float. It can go into decimals also, although usually we don't invest say in decimals. Okay, so still let it be as float. Input, enter the principal amount. Then rate R is equal to rate of interest can go into decimals. So let's say enter the rate of interest. Okay. Then period, say T is equal to, and this we will put it as int input, enter the time period, and finally F, which is going to be our frequency, which again we will take it as int input, enter the time, no, not time period, frequency of compounding. Okay, we have accepted all the values from the user. Now amount payable is equal to, we just call the calc amount function, the first one, and to it we pass PRTF, and then we just print whatever is returned. The interest component is amount payable minus the principal, and we format it to display with 0.0f with no decimal. Print f, and we say the amount payable is amount payable, and again we format it. This would be f, no, colon 0.0f, and these three steps we have to repeat it for the other method as well. So here it will be calculate amount to. Now let's call the main function. Any errors? I can't see any, so let's run this. Principal amount is 1000, rate of interest is, let's say, 5%, time period is 3, frequency of compounding to begin with, let's say once a year. Okay, there is an error here. The amount payable to payable is, this is line number 29. Line number 29. What is the error here? This is amount payable. What is the error message? Invalid format specifier. Okay, this one 0.0f, line number 29. This one seems to be correct, or double colon. Okay, so since I copy pasted it here also, it will be there. Now let's run this. 1000, rate of interest is 5, period is 3, and frequency of compounding is once a year. So using both the methods we are getting the same values. Okay, let's run this again. Let's say 1000, let's say 5%, let's say period of time period is 3 years, but now let's say we are going to do compounding 4 times a year. Again we are getting the same values from both the methods. Let's do a fun kind of thing. Let's say 1000, let's say rate of interest is 5, let's say time period is 100 years, and frequency of compounding is, say, 4 times a year. So that 1000 in 100 years will become 1,42,884. Again, both the methods are giving us the same value. So that is calculating the compound interest. That's it. Bye.